This is going to be a tutorial on how to replace the keyboard in a Compaq Presario C500 series laptop. The same keyboard is used in many other laptop models such as the C500 series too. I want to make a note right at the beginning that the new keyboard packaging will probably say something on it like attention static sensitive device handled only at static safe workstation. Technicians that work on computers usually do it with various types of grounded mats, grounded benches, wristbands and tethers, rubber floor mats, etc. You don't need to do all that to make sure there's no static current flow from you through the laptop components to ground. Just be sure you're not standing on carpet while you're working on the laptop to reduce the chance of static buildup, and make sure you touch the laptop case before touching any internals to discharge any static. But actually it's pretty rare that there's any electric static discharge damage. The only tools you should need is a flathead screwdriver, one that's got a thinnish tip and narrow tip, and a small Phillips head screwdriver, and possibly a cake frosting spreader. More about that later. And of course you need a new keyboard. Well, the first step naturally is to turn off the laptop and close the case. And it's best to work on a padded surface such as a tabletop with a cloth on it or perhaps a towel. Turn the laptop over so that the battery door is closest to you, and move the door latch switch to the right. The battery should just pop up by itself and easily lift out, but if not, sometimes they do get jammed, you can use the cake frosting spreader in this narrow groove to just pop it up. It will do so without even marring the case. Had to do that once already. Lift the battery out, set it aside. Using your small flathead screwdriver, remove the two screws that are in the center of the bottom of the compartment that holds the battery. There are 3 other screws located out toward the edge. Don't remove those. After you remove the battery, then turn the laptop upright and open the display, and take your small flathead screwdriver and we're going to remove this bezel. There are a couple of slots. There's a little slot right under the F1 key, and there's one right there under the insert key, and it's going to pop up with some force. It is possible to break it. It's delicate. It's got a series of little plastic tabs around there holding it down, but we're going to pop it up. It's going to come up with some force. Just as predicted. None of them are broken. There are 4 little Phillips head screws that we're going to remove the keyboard. Be careful not to drop them down inside the case. They probably would fall out with some jiggling up and down, but they could do some damage. After removing all of the screws from the tabs, lift the keyboard up and it should lift right out. It'll still be attached at the back by the ribbon cable, and we're going to have to remove that. Just tug on the ribbon cable horizontally toward the display and it should slide right out. Put it aside, get your new keyboard and unpackage it. Be sure that you don't touch the cable terminations with your fingers. line up the cable terminations with the long white slot and slowly, gradually work it into the slot. After you've connected the terminal, then insert the tabs at the bottom edge of the keyboard into the slots and lower it into place. Reinstall the screws in the retaining tabs and the 4 holes across the top. We're going to reinstall the bezel now. There are a series of slots around the perimeter of the bezel's installation point, and there are a series of little plastic tabs on there that have to insert in there and then be popped down. So line everything up and just go around its edge, popping. Looks like we've got them all in there. Now we're going to test it. Close the laptop, flip it over with the battery compartment close to you. Before installing the battery, we're going to put the 2 screws back in the battery compartment that we'd removed earlier. Now we're going to reinstall the battery, but there's an important note here. When you're putting this in, don't manually move the battery latch to the right or the open position to install and latch the battery. If you do that, then it's going to be jammed in that position, and it can be kind of difficult then to remove it. In fact, I've made a separate video on how to remove jammed batteries from these C500s, because it happens pretty often. People mistakenly open the latch before installing the battery. All you're supposed to do is simply drop the battery down into its latch position down here, and then just press on it and snap it in, and the latch will just pop over and back in and lock it into place, so that then you should be able to unlatch it again. And that's all there is to it, except at this point we need to test it. Well, I've done a function test, and all of the keys seem to function as intended, so we're through. Piece of cake, huh?